Hi everyone, I'm Arnie Cole, CEO of Back to the Bible. You know, our research shows that many mature Christians have deep biblical knowledge, but somewhere along the way, they're stalled out. They put their faith on autopilot, feeling like their purpose has faded, or they just don't matter as much anymore. As a result, they're not even sharing their faith. That's why I'm excited to talk with Pastor Gary today about guarding your hearts. Gary, tell us about this series.
It's a new series called Guarding Your Heart, and we're going to be talking about 7 topics. Off the top of my head, I can think of, we're going to be talking about guarding your heart, guarding your mind, guarding your feet, guarding your relationships with others, those sort of things.
So what do you mean by guarding? Like guarding against being burned out?
I think we're talking about perhaps as we get older, some people go into something that we might term spiritual drift. They are no longer on a heading. They just think that their faith can just be stagnant, and so they're not witnessing to others, and then they're not even staying in God's Word in some instances where they're drifting away faith-wise.
Do you think, at least when we look at the research, do you think they start to believe that what they do doesn't matter?
I think that's the case.
Like, why bother?
I think that's a great way to do that. You know, when we mature, some as they mature just have that idea that they are of no longer any value to anyone, and so I think that complacency might be a good word to use in that instance.
And is that biblical?
Drifting away biblically, I think that can happen. I think if you look at the Israelites, for example, out of the Old Testament, they kind of went away from what they believed in, and I think we see a little bit of spiritual drift even in the New Testament in some of the religious people of Jesus' day. The elders of the congregations started to drift away and started to interject their own ideas and own thoughts into things.
So do you think spiritual stagnation is kind of like gravity? Like that's the natural thing? Is it just if you do nothing, it's actually you're becoming stagnant?
I think that's a great way to put that. I think by doing nothing, you become stagnant, or you think you're insignificant and of no value to anyone. I know I've run into instances where someone who is getting older and can't do some of the things they once did when they were younger would come to me as a pastor and say, I just can't do things anymore. I'm of no value anymore. And I said, have you thought about the importance of being able to pray? Mm-hmm. I mean, there are some things that she can or could still do, and that's one that she was very good at.
So you're saying you need to be, when you talk about the concept of guarding, you need to be intentional with your spiritual life then.
I think that's a great way to put that, Arnie. Being intentional, being focused, remembering the importance about where God is to be found in His Word, and staying in tune with that Word.
Cool. Now, for mature believers who know the Bible really, really well, but maybe running on autopilot, it's very easy to isolate yourself and say, you know, why bother? Get very grumpy. How do we guard our hearts against grumpiness? And I like to call it complaineria.
Complaineria, yeah.
I noticed, now that I are one, hanging out with older people, they love to complain.
Yeah, and most people find it very hard to be around someone who is a constant complainer.
Yeah.
Fact is, I think we talk about that in this series about be careful who you associate with, because some people can bring you down to their level quite easily. So what can that person do that is a complainer? Maybe finding someone around them that is uplifting and spend time there and have their spirits lifted.
And being isolated, being alone, probably doesn't help either.
No, it really doesn't. You start thinking about yourself.
Now, what about those people, as you get older, you have health issues?
Certainly do.
How does that play in guarding your heart?
I think that plays in the fact that we start emphasizing then what we can't do instead of the things that we still can do.
Yeah, yeah. And I notice too, as people get older, they go into great detail about their health issues
Yeah.
that nobody really cares. I mean,
Yeah.
you're alive, you're fine. I don't need to know a lot of, but have you noticed that
I
too?
certainly have. I had a great aunt several years ago. My dad said to me, we're going to go meet this great aunt of yours, and whatever you do, don't ask her how she is.
She's doing. Yeah, sad but true, isn't it?
Sad, very true.
Yeah. And I guess that would indicate that you're over-focused on yourself,
Exactly right.
and because it may be scary. And
Well, things are different. You can't do all those things that you once did.
Yeah.
And then you start isolating yourself, feeling sorry for yourself. And, that's not really what God ever intended us to do, is to feel sorry for ourselves.
Yeah.
But to get confidence from Him to be able to do those things that we still can do and not complain about those that we can't.
So what you're really saying is we need to be intentional. We need to be proactive. This guarding business is being proactive daily, so that we don't become a grumpy pants and nobody wants to hang out with us.
Yeah, that would be the way to put it.
So Gary's series, Guard Your Heart, starts tomorrow. So be sure to watch it.